YouTube viewers, Rectangular back, this time with another review. Here we have two figures, but one is just a variant of the other. This is the Plan B Special Emergency Forces Police SWAT figure, and these are no longer available. They do list them on the company's website, but you can only get the World War II figures from this line. Here we've got the back of the package, and I've already done reviews for the police canine unit, all three of the firefighters, and looks like the blue SWAT officer, or the SWAT officer is in blue, and then the SWAT team member is in black. Now, for me, it was much harder to find the SWAT team member in black, so I think I have three of the SWAT officers in blue. So basically my setup is going to be the black member will be the officer, and the rest of the guys will be team members. Alright, so if you want to check out those reviews, please go back and look them up on my channel. Alright, let's get into the accessories. Here we have all the accessories that the figure comes with. We've got the battering ram, the riot shield, submachine gun, and pistol. The battering ram is a solid plastic with some silver dry brushing detail on the ends and a little bit on the handle there. Not much to it. Pretty well accented with the paint. Let's get that off to the side. Then the riot shield does have a actual translucent piece of plastic for the window, and sculpted both around the window and the bolts for the handles on the inside with some silver accented paint there, and a splash of silver paint on the front, which I'll probably, on a couple of mine, try to brush that over with some black paint so that they all don't look exactly the same. But really well done with the painted Defender and Police there on the front, and on the back we have the arm brace so the figure can support it, and then the handle, which fits really well into his hand. We'll get into that. But yeah, it was very realistic looking. It's got a little bit of heft to it. And then we have the Submachine Gun, which is a MP5. Very well sculpted. It's just a solid black plastic. The only paint detail is for the strap that holds the spare magazine onto the regular magazine. It's inserted into the weapon, but very nice attention to detail on the sculpt with the rivets for a strap and the bolt. Could use a little bit of dry brush, I think, just a slight bit to add to the realism, but the sculpt is fantastic. And then we have the pistol handgun, focus, which this to me looks like a, let's see, Heckler and Koch, no, a Browning high power. And I think I showed this on the this is a similar pistol excuse me, as the figure that I did, the other Plan B figure, the canine handler, but this is a larger model of weapon. But my only complaint is how super thin it is. So it looks good from the side, not so good from head on, even though Browning high power is a slightly thinner pistol. Let's see if I can get a Marvel Legends pistol to compare it with. So for a little comparison, we've got the Plan B pistol here on the left, and on the right we have one of the weapons that came with Agent Venom excuse me, from Marvel Legends. So you can see pretty thick in comparison to the Plan B pistol. Now, a Browning high power is a thinner, narrower gun than a Glock, but that is a pretty huge comparison, so keep that in mind if you're going to be posing it from the front, that it may look a little weird. As you can see, the gun does fit nicely into the figure's hand. His finger goes just above or over the trigger into the trigger guard, so it does look pretty decent from the side, but awful thin from the facing position. But yeah, it fits pretty well in his hand on the right side. He does not have a trigger holding or trigger finger extended on the left hand. Alright, with that, let's get into the figure review. Alright, we're going to keep things simple and just focus on the SWAT member here in blue, or the SWAT officer as he's called. The other figure is solid black. Doesn't look like there's any paint shading to him, so this guy is a little bit better as far as the detail goes, because he does have some very nice paint shading, some like black and gray and dark blue washed into his uniform. So if you had to pick between the two, I would go with this one. This one's actually a little bit easier to find, so very, very nicely sculpted. Pretty much the same sculpt as the canine figure, at least from the pants on lower half of the figure. It's got pockets, a pocket on the left side and a pouch for magazines on the right side, and the boots does have a really nice tread on the bottom of the boots and peg holes, so I like that. Magazine pouches don't open, neither on the vest as well. The vest is somewhat removable. It has a tab on one side, and actually supposed to have two tabs, but it looks like mine has deteriorated on the lower tab there. So if you really wanted to take the vest off, you could, and it doesn't look like the other side tabs open, but that's cool if you wanted to mix things up and have them, like after a mission, have taking their gear off, something like that. You could do that. And it's a little bit tricky to, there we go, get the tab line back up. And it's got the radio does not appear to be removable on the top here. It does move a little bit because I think it's on a peg, but I think they glued that peg in, because I don't feel like I can take it off without breaking it, and I really don't want to have to worry about breaking off. So, but very nicely detailed. It's got a little connector here for like a Velcro strap. You can see that. There we go. And so just really nice attention to detail. Looks like they sculpted the goggles on separately, but they are glued on. You can't move them without breaking them off. And that is pretty much it. He's got a nice web belt there on the bottom, and yeah, nice detail on the helmet. It does look fabric, so that's very cool. Reminds me so much of a Cobra soldier. I grew up on G.I. Joe, the cartoon series, and the 3 3/4 inch figures. So I guess if you wanted to make your own custom Cobra army, it would be pretty expensive, because these things are not cheap, not easy to find. Usually go for about $35 and up on eBay. Alright, so, and I forgot to mention the American flag there, very nicely painted. And really like the paint shading and the attention detail. You can see a lot of stitching in his uniform, very cool. And he is a little bit on the pale side, but did a pretty good job on his eyes, and the mask. Just the paint in general is very well done. So on that, we'll get into the articulation. Oh, and just wanted to mention that the goggles do have like a gloss all over them, so that's really nice. Looks, you know, they look like they have some plastic lens there, so that's very cool. So as far as the articulation goes, it is kind of a little bit of a ball joint, not a whole lot, so you can't really, you can rock it back and forth, but it doesn't really stay in any one position. It's really just meant to turn around. And I know some of the other Plan B figures, you can remove the heads, like the terrorist, and I'm trying to remember what some of the other figures in the line, like the firefighters. And these, I'm kind of afraid. I think you can remove the head, but I don't want to pull on it too much in case you can't and it breaks. There are ball jointed shoulders, so they go up pretty good amount. I'm just afraid to break him because he's been in the package for years. And then he rotates all the way around. It is a little bit a harder plastic, very similar to like a Diamond Select figure. It's got a upper bicep swivel, and they did a really good job with the sculpt, so it doesn't look, you know, it's pretty cylindrical, so it doesn't really look odd when you can see the gaps in the sculpt. So I like that. Single jointed elbow. Would like to have gone up a little bit higher, and go almost 90 degrees. Not quite. I'm sorry. Yeah, 90 degrees. Not quite. And then he's got a rotation at the wrist. Really like the sculpt on those gloves. Very realistic looking. Sorry for the squeak there. And same on the other side. It does have a waist joint, which works really well. Not too loose. And then he just has a hinge there at the thigh, or the hip, and is limited by the sculpt, so he can't really get his leg too high up. And single jointed knee, which again is kind of limited by the sculpt. You can't really go 90 degrees in that direction either. And a hinge at the boot. It goes pretty far forward and pretty far back, but no ankle rockers and no shin rotation. So not the best articulation, but these guys, you're pretty much getting them for the sculpt. So I'm going to put his accessories on and take a look at what he looks like fully loaded. Alright, here we've got the figure fully loaded with his submachine gun and his riot shield. And he does hold the submachine gun fairly well. It kind of a little tricky to get the stock on the inside of his forearm. Kind of have to play with it a little bit, but he does hold the trigger finger into the on the trigger really well. You can see that from the other angle there. And the riot shield really only meant to go onto his left arm because of the brace there, and there's no handle on the other side, so that's the only thing that's really limiting about it. But I think it's a little tricky to get up if you want him to have it look through it. You can't hold it in front of him fairly well. You kind of have to play with it. Probably have to stick something underneath the arm. There you go. I was looking through it. But very cool. Like that a lot. Let's take the shield off and show him holding the submachine gun. The vest kind of interferes with the articulation a bit, so you kind of have to play with it if you want him in any kind of real serious action pose. You might want to try using a different gun from one of your other figures, but not too bad. Would have liked a hinge on the neck so you could get him looking up or looking down, but overall pretty cool. And let's just show him with the battering ram that he can hold that without any problems. There we go. So you can have him coming up to a door. It's not the greatest pose, I admit, but it does work. And of course, no good review is complete without a size comparison. So on the left we have a Marvel Legends Shield Agent, we have the Plan B SWAT figure in the middle, and on the right we have a DC Universe Movie Masters Blake, police officer. So I think he works really well with other 6-inch figures. His Movie Masters are just a tiny bit on the small size, but I think for most displays they all work really well together. Alright, so hopefully you guys like the review. You share with your friends, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I always love hearing back from you guys, so please leave a comment below. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.